What's up everybody, it's your Boruto Hokage here, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to talk about the Boruto anime, and I'm actually going to defend it throughout this video. And also there's this popular statement in the Boruto community right now that the Boruto manga is better than the Boruto anime. I'm going to explain why, in my opinion, this is one of the most ignorant and childish things you can say about the Boruto series in general. And you will fully understand my point by the end of this video. So my suggestion is that you stay until the end. And before some of you get triggered or disagree with me, again, stay until the end because I have quite a few points to make. This is going to be probably a lengthy video, but a very important one. If you're a fan of the Boruto anime, and if you ever come across these people who just blindly state that the anime is trash or whatever without proper arguments, just send them this video. I'm just trying to make things easier for you. And so without further ado, let's get into the video. First of all, I want to clarify the fact that the Boruto anime is canon. I think it has been stated multiple times actually, but anyway, it was stated in the past that Kodachi is involved within the creation of the anime, and Kodachi is the writer of the Boruto manga. He doesn't illustrate it, Ikemura is the illustrator, but basically Kodachi is the main guy. Kishimoto just supervises everything, he provides some new ideas from time to time, but Kodachi is the writer. And he is involved within the creation of the Boruto anime. As I said, I recently did a video about Kodachi's statement. He wants to make Boruto more appealing to the Western fans, I guess. And so, yeah, he's involved within the creation, and the Boruto anime is canon. That said, let's get into some of the positive things when it comes to the Boruto anime. So first of all, I want to talk about the main character, Boruto Uzumaki, one of the most complex shonen protagonists nowadays, and one of the most unique shonen protagonists nowadays. Now, a lot of people are subconsciously brainwashed to liking only characters who go from zero to hero. Why? Because most of us had some issues in our childhood, basically. Characters like Sasuke, who are loved by all girls, are a minority. If you have 20 boys in a class, most likely 2 or 3 of them are going to be popular, while 17 of them are going to be just regular kids. Kids who start from nothing, basically. And that's why many people relate to the likes of Naruto, Asta, and Deku. Just because this type of main character is popular within the shonen genre, and just because this character type is so satisfying to look at, doesn't mean that other main characters such as, for example, Ichigo from Bleach or Boruto from Boruto are bad. Boruto is actually a very complex character. At the start of the anime, he had a bad relationship with his father. It was partly Naruto's mistake. It was partly Boruto's mistake. Both of them, they made amends at the end of the versus Momoshiki arc. They both grew as characters, even Naruto, and now their relationship is much better. When the Naruto Shinden novel was adapted, Naruto spent some time with Himawari, and Boruto didn't care about the fact that Naruto didn't spend any time with him. He grew as a person. He learned a lot about Naruto from Sasuke especially, and now he understands it more. He matured. In the versus Momoshiki arc, he cheated in the Chunin exams because he wanted to get more attention from his father. He later learned that you're not supposed to lie. That's another example of character development. Throughout the Boruto series, Boruto has been betrayed by many people. Kagura, Sumire, Onoki. There are many examples. These are just 3 random examples that popped in my head, but he's been constantly getting betrayed by people, and still he has his hopes all the time. He always thinks positively. He always tries to influence others around him. I mean, just look at the Jugo arc and how mature Boruto has become ever since the Boruto anime started. This bad relationship, I guess, with Naruto wasn't only because he wasn't spending enough time with him. He was worried about Hinata and Himawari. That just shows how much of a huge heart Boruto has. He was complaining about Boruto not spending time at home because of them. Basically, that's the point. Yes, he wanted to spend more time with his dad, which is natural, but still, the primary focus was on Himawari and Hinata. Boruto is a realistic main character. He isn't perfect, and that's the point of his character. At the start, you have quite a few kids from the academy discriminating Boruto just because he's the son of the Hokage, but he doesn't whine about it, he doesn't cry about it. Instead, he just proves them wrong. I mean, just take a look at, for example, Denki. Denki had incredible character development throughout the Boruto series, but the one who motivated him to start his journey was Boruto Uzumaki in the first episode. These are just some of the positives when it comes to Boruto's character. There are multiple examples of character growth in the manga. I can't spoil it because this is intended for the anime onlys, but the Kawaki stuff, the Ninja Tech stuff, just think about it. Boruto is full of character development, highly complex character, greatly understood by many. And that was my first point. I just wanted to prove that Boruto is a great, unique shonen protagonist with a bunch of character development. And another thing which I find hilarious is when people say that Boruto's characters don't have character development. I'm sorry, but Denki and Iwabe had incredible character development. Sumire had great character development. Some of it wasn't too realistic, and I agree with that, but still, she had character development. Even Wasabi and Namira in the recent Jugo arc episodes matured, and you can clearly see it, especially Namira. Sarada as well. I mean, at the start, she didn't even know her dad. She was angry at him. She was angry at her mom. They didn't have the best relationship, I guess, but all of that changed. And she started chasing this dream of becoming a Hokage. She always follows the rules. She's very disciplined. And as I said, a lot of people grow as the series goes on. Mitsuki as well. He had this identity crisis, I guess. He was questioning his own will in the Mitsuki disappearance arc, but that changed. He grew as a character. I mentioned it earlier, but even Naruto Uzumaki had some character development in this episode. You would think that he won't, in this series, you would think that he won't get any character development or anything like that because, he's not the main character anymore. He's an adult right now, so what do you do with his character? But no, the Versus Momoshiki arc showed us that yes, even characters like Naruto Uzumaki can get character development. Kagura grew as a character, just like with Sumire. I'm not the biggest fan of the way he grew, but still, that's character development right there. Shikadai in the Mujina, not the Mujina Bandits arc, in the Byakuya Gang arc. Now that I mentioned that arc, just remember Ryogi. Ryogi also grew. So as I said, characters grow in this series. Sometimes side characters get individual episodes for themselves, but that's the point. The point is they need to grow. They don't grow in these huge arcs where everybody is involved against, in terms of like fighting against somebody, because we're still at a time of peace. Naruto fought for peace for hundreds of episodes, and you just want the Otsutsuki invasion stuff and the wars to start already. No, we need to get some peaceful times because that's what Naruto deserved. He worked so hard for it, and let's respect that. So anyway, my main point was that Boruto is a great main character, and yes, Boruto side characters do get quite a lot of character development. And I didn't even list all examples in this video because this video is just, I guess, debunking some general arguments. It isn't supposed to go too deep into anything. There's more to Boruto's character, there's more to side characters, but I just wanted to briefly make an argument to support my opinion, I guess, on the Boruto series and its characters. Also, Boruto has great world building. Yes, a lot of the Narutoverse was touched upon in the Naruto series, but then again, this is a different series. Some things had to be repeated, but also there were many new additions to the Boruto anime. We saw the Ryuchi Cave. We saw the Hidden Stone Village. We saw the Hidden Mist Village, and we actually went to the village with our characters, like inside of it, and we saw quite a few things that are going on right there. There were some political issues going on in the Hidden Mist Village, in the Hidden Stone Village, and so the point is the world building is on point. In the Byakuya Gang arc, we saw some rural parts of Konoha, I guess, where people were poor and they didn't have enough financial resources to live properly. In the current Boruto arc, which is, the Naruto Shinden, the Konoha Shinden novel that's being adapted into the anime, let's just call it the Mirai arc, we see the land of steam, land of hot water, whatever. That's where Hiran is from. These are just some of the examples. The Boruto anime is doing a great job at expanding the world, and you know, it's just doing a great job pretty much, and I don't think you can argue with that. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't often see somebody saying Boruto's world building is bad, but I saw it a few times, and so I just wanted to make this point to prove that actually world building of Boruto is indeed good. So yeah, let's get to the next point. Yeah, the dialogue. The dialogue of the Boruto series is heavily underrated. I think, like, if you follow my channel for a certain period, you probably heard me saying this like 1,000 times, but I need to explain it because every video has new viewers. Boruto's character interactions and dialogue scenes are on point, and I think people should pay more attention to it. A lot of times, things that are said by characters foreshadow future events. For example, Boruto's fate has been hinted at multiple times in the Boruto series. Even in the Genin graduation exam arc, Kakashi kind of hinted at it. In the versus Momoshiki arc, Momoshiki hinted at it. In the Mitsuki disappearance arc, you know, when Boruto went to the Ryuchi cave, I don't know if it was called the Great Snake Sage or whatever, but she mentioned Boruto's fate. Boruto's fate was also hinted at or foreshadowed, whatever, in the Jugo arc. That's just one example. There are many examples of incredible foreshadowing scenes and overall great dialogue. As a series, Boruto has both slice of life and plot-heavy arcs, which I will get into a bit later. And so that means that the dialogue / comedy / character interactions have to be on point, especially in the slice of life episodes. That's exactly what Boruto does. Now, comedy is a highly subjective thing. I mean, everything is subjective. I'm not saying that you're not allowed to dislike Boruto as a series. You can do that, and I can change that. But to say that it's objectively bad or something like that, I disagree with that, because I think I have quite a few arguments to prove that it's actually a good series or a great series, whatever. But anyway, going back to dialogue / comedy scenes / interactions, they're on point. And next time you watch Boruto, pay attention to the dialogue, because I really think that it's underrated. Now, I actually filmed the entire video. I finished everything, and I literally came back just to film another segment and add it. And I'm adding it right now. Boruto pays homage to Naruto a lot in the Boruto series by producing these moments which have similar concepts to Naruto's concepts, but actually at the same time adding a different flavor to it. For example, in the Naruto series, the Chunin exams were interrupted by Orochimaru, and in that arc, Sasuke, one of the main characters, got something from the villain, which was the curse mark. In Boruto, Momoshiki, another villain, interrupts the Chunin exams, and in this case, the main character gets something from Momoshiki, which is the Karma Seal. For example, in Naruto, we had Asuma and Hidan fighting, and now we have in the latest Boruto arc, and there's one episode left, which is episode 111, which is coming out tomorrow. We have Mirai fighting against another Jashin worshipper. These are just two examples. There are many examples of Boruto paying homage to Naruto and overall carrying Naruto's values to the Boruto series. For example, we all know the famous quote, "Those who break the rules are scum, but those who abandon their friends are even worse than scum." That was the thing in Naruto and even in Boruto during the Genin graduation exam. I think that Kakashi mentioned it. So overall, I like these little writing parallels that the Boruto series is making. Yeah, I just wanted to add that. I can't believe that I forgot to add it when I was originally filming the video. And so, yeah, you can continue watching the video. This was just another argument to prove that this anime is great. Now, I'm quickly going to bring up another highly subjective thing, which is the soundtrack, the music within the Boruto anime. Just like Naruto, Boruto is full of different various soundtracks. You have a few sad soundtracks, you have happy soundtracks, you have intense soundtracks, you have creepy soundtracks, villain soundtracks. The point is, Boruto invests into its music catalog a lot. Just like the Naruto series, just like Naruto Shippuden, just like, for example, Bleach. And so I really respect that. Me personally, I prefer Naruto's soundtrack, but that doesn't mean that Boruto's soundtrack is bad. As I said, there's a huge variety of different soundtracks that are used in the Boruto anime. And I especially like the emotional soundtracks, especially the ones that were featured in the versus Momoshiki arc. I think they're brilliant. And in case you never really paid attention to this, just search on YouTube or whatever Boruto soundtrack playlist or something like that. You'll see that there are many soundtracks out there. Again, this is a highly subjective thing. You might dislike some soundtracks, you might like some, but you can't deny the fact that objectively Boruto has a lot of soundtracks, which is a good thing when it comes to pretty much any anime, not only Boruto. Notice how I mentioned that there's a huge variety of like soundtracks in the Boruto anime. Same goes for arc/arc structures. There's so much going on in Boruto. I have a list of a few arcs here. So currently we have about 12 arcs, I'd say. First, we had the Ninja Academy stuff, the stuff with Sumire. Then we had Naruto Gaiden adapted into the anime. Then we had the Mist arc, then the Genin graduation exam. Then we had some Genin missions, the Byakuya gang arc, the versus Momoshiki arc. After that, with the Chocho arc, which is probably the weakest Boruto arc so far. Then we have the Mitsuki disappearance arc. Then Naruto Shinden was adapted. Then we had the Juga arc. Now Konoha Shinden is being adapted. The point is, Boruto has so many different arcs. From arcs that are going on within the actual village, to field trips, to missions, to Otsutsuki invasions. There's a huge variety of arcs, and Boruto isn't afraid to experiment. Also, I think I mentioned this earlier in the videos, Boruto has both slice of life elements and plot heavy arcs. And this is where the main problem appears. A lot of Western fans don't like slice of life. I talked about this in the past. In Asia, Boruto is doing great in terms of ratings because there's a different culture right there, and people don't mind slice of life. Slice of life anime in general is more popular in Japan. I'm not saying that you should like slice of life. I'm not forcing you to do so. I can do it. If you dislike it, it's your thing. But just because you dislike slice of life doesn't mean that the fact that we have slice of life in Boruto is bad. Like, when I talked about this, in the past, somebody said, I don't fucking want to see any slice of life or something like that. And I'm like, who the fuck are you to want or not want stuff in the Boruto anime? If the writers decide to do so, they're gonna do it. There's an audience for slice of life. There's an audience for plot-heavy arcs, and there's obviously an overlap. The point is, Boruto does both things in a great way. When it wants to, it produces incredible action-packed, plot-heavy arcs, such as the versus Momoshiki arc. And when it wants, it produces amazing slice-of-life content. Now, the point of slice of life is, basically daily lives of characters. And by spending more time with them on screen, we bond with them more. That's the purpose of slice of life episodes. And it's not that Boruto doesn't know how to progress the plot. It's just that it purposely adds these slice of life elements because as the story goes on, eventually it's probably going to become even darker than Naruto, and we're not going to have any slice of life. Then we're actually going to miss some slice of life days that are going on right now. Now, people usually say, people who agree with me that, yeah, slice of life should be there because first of all, it differentiates the Boruto series. It highlights the peaceful times that Naruto and Sasuke worked their asses off for, and stuff like that. So there are people who agree that slice of life should be there, but they say that there's too much slice of life and that the story doesn't progress at all. That's incorrect. At the start of the anime, Boruto isn't even a genin. 30-40 episodes later, he's a genin. Then he does some genin missions. Around episode 50-60, we have the Chunin exams. Obviously, nobody became a Chunin. I actually did a spoiler video for episode 112, which is coming out next week. This week, we're getting episode 111, which concludes the Mirai arc. But after that, we get episode 112. According to the spoilers, somebody's going to become a Chunin in that episode, most likely, because Naruto and Shikamaru are going to consider who should become a Chunin. So the point is, the plot is progressing. The novels are being adapted. So far, one arc of the manga was adapted, and I feel like the second arc, which is the Mujina Bandits arc, is close. Things happen. Sometimes you would get some flashbacks in Boruto. For example, the Mitsuki backstory flashback, or when Ryogi was introduced, we saw his backstory and how his parents were killed, but that was a pretty short flashback. The point is, Boruto does do some flashbacks from time to time, just like all anime, so that we can understand these characters more. But it's not like Naruto, where you have flashback arcs or multiple episodes of stretched out flashbacks. The story is constantly evolving. It constantly goes forward. And that proves that yes, plot progression happens pretty much all the time. Technically, even during slice of life episodes. Some people are complaining right now that in the Mirai arc we don't see Boruto. This is supposed to be his story. Apart from Naruto Gaiden, which was Sarada's arc, which was only a few episodes. Apart from that, and a few other individual episodes that are supposed to include some character development for other characters, and apart from the Mirai arc, Boruto is there pretty much all the time. And we're only 110 episodes in. You do realize that Naruto Part 1 had like 220 episodes, and that Shippuden had 500 episodes. And Boruto as a character grew so much, and it's so subtle. It's like written so well. Like, anyway, he grew so much, so it's okay that from time to time we get a break from Boruto and his journey directly. And so now we're, for example, in the Mirai arc. So far, this arc has around 5 episodes. The next episode, which is coming out tomorrow, is the final one. And even this arc, the purpose of it is for us to bond more with Mirai's character. We know her more, and we know her well after this arc. That's the point of it. Because once the Otsutsuki start attacking and shit like that, it's not like characters like Mirai or Denki are going to be too relevant, so it makes sense for them to get some of these individual episodes. I mean, in this case, Mirai is getting an arc pretty much. And I've talked about this in my last episode review. A Jashin worshipper is introduced in the Mirai arc novel. And so does that mean that we might see more Jashin worshippers in the future? Does that mean that Hidan might be potentially alive or something like that? And if you read the Boruto manga, you know that this is actually possible, because we all thought that a certain character was dead from Naruto Shippuden, but he was actually alive. We saw it in the Boruto manga. But anyway, the point is, it raises questions. It makes room for discussion. Now, slice of life in general doesn't make too much room for discussion, theories, and predictions, which is something that the Naruto community in general loves, and I love it too. I personally prefer plot-heavy arcs, the slice of life arcs, but again, that doesn't mean that I just blindly hate on the slice of life content. I think it's there for a purpose. And one thing that I really hate is when people, for example, if we have a slice of life episode, they complain about the lack of, I don't know, fights or plot progression, and it's like you're completely disregarding the context. For example, let me give you, it's not a stupid example actually, it's a good example. It's a little bit unexpected, I guess, to hear something like this in a video talking about the Boruto anime. But for example, let me give you 2 cases of people killing somebody. So for example, person A kills somebody and person B kills somebody. The circumstances can be incredibly different. For example, person A was, I don't know, jealous because his ex-girlfriend found a new boyfriend and he killed the boyfriend. This person should go to jail. This person is sick. But for example, person B, somebody broke into their house and they killed it out of self-defense. And so that person shouldn't go to jail because that was self-defense. You know, you're not going to risk your life and the life of your kids or whatever. You're going to kill the criminal that crashed into your house. And so what people do with Boruto episodes, with Boruto Slice of Life episodes, they completely disregard the context and they say, well, there's no fights, no character, no plot-heavy stuff going on, no plot progression. That would be the equivalent of me sending person B to jail because he or she killed somebody while completely disregarding the fact that it was out of self-defense. Context matters. You can't equally judge episodes from the Versus Momoshiki arc and, for example, episodes from the Mirai arc, episodes from Naruto Gaiden, episodes from the first arc. Context matters. I remember when I gave Boruto episode 50, I think it was episode 50, that was the flashback episode, I gave it a 10 out of 10, and a lot of people were confused as to why I gave a flashback episode a 10 out of 10. A flashback episode is a flashback episode. I judge it based on different standards. If I get a fighting episode, My final episode rating depends on mostly the fight, right? If I get a slice of life episode, my rating depends on the comedy, on the dialogue, and overall how I personally enjoyed the episode. And if I get a flashback scene, I want to see a flashback episode. I want to see if this flashback episode was done in a lazy way or if it was interesting. The Boruto flashback episode, which was episode 50, I believe, was actually pretty fun. We had all the senseis talking about their students, and I think it was creative. And so, in terms of all flashback episodes that I saw from various anime, I thought this was one of the best, if not the best, which is why I gave it a 10 out of 10. And so, some people ask me, well, you think that a flashback episode is better than, for example, some episode that got a 9 from the versus Momoshiki arc? No, I'm not saying that. You can't just blindly look at the numbers. The numbers are the least important. The point is, those two episodes are completely different categories, different contexts. I just wanted to make that point. There's slice of life and there's plot heavy stuff going on, completely different things. Boruto does a great mix of the two. Boruto mostly has plot heavy arcs, plot progression arcs, action packed arcs. We had quite a few greatly animated fights in the Boruto series. But still, we have some slice of life. Again, I already said it. I'm not forcing you to enjoy slice of life. But just because it's there and just because you personally don't prefer that type of content doesn't mean that the anime is bad. If you look at the likes of, I don't know, Black Clover and My Hero Academia, they follow the usual zero to hero story. Boruto, and I'm not saying that it's better, that's a personal subjective thing, but Boruto is at least different. It's doing something differently, it's unique, and you need to respect that. Remember how I earlier talked about pretty much a whole bunch of aspects when it comes to the Boruto anime, and at the start of the video I said that the anime is... I didn't specifically say that sentence, but I actually thought about it. Remember how I said that the anime is obviously better than the manga? You know why? Because manga pretty much doesn't have anything that I talked about in this video. The Naruto guidance stuff and Mitsuki one-shot, those two are not within the actual flow of the manga, which is chapters 1, 2, 3, and so on. The latest chapter is chapter 35. And so you can take that into consideration. I think when you buy the first volume of Boruto, you either get the Naruto guidance stuff or the Mitsuki one shot, or you get both. I'm not really sure, but the point is it's not within the actual flow of the manga. The manga doesn't have any of this. Shikadai, does he get any character development in the manga? No. What about Mitsuki? Nothing. He feels like a fucking side character. What about Sarada? Nothing. Yes, Boruto does get progression, I'm not gonna deny that, but he's a much more complex character when you look at the anime. He's still complex in the manga, but the anime shows the full picture. What about the world building that I was mentioning earlier? I'm not saying there's none of it in the manga, but there's significantly less. What about the dialogue? Again, Boruto's fate is hinted at in the Boruto manga as well, but still there are more examples in the anime. What about the variety of the side characters? There are more side characters in the anime. They get more screen time. They get more development. And so you can possibly say that the Boruto manga is better than the Boruto anime because the Boruto manga isn't even the full Boruto story. The full Boruto story is actually the Boruto anime. The manga actually has some things that are supposed to be expanded on in the anime. It's not the full story. I mean, just look at the versus Momoshiki arc. The versus Momoshiki arc was great in the manga. I'm not denying that. But in the anime, it was 15 times better. We had the addition of Urashiki, Toneri. The Chunin exams were expanded. We had more fights. It was more emotional. It was more impactful. Plus, obviously, in the anime, there's this advantage of having the soundtracks or whatever, but I'm not gonna judge the arcs based on that. Overall, the versus Momoshiki arc was miles better in the anime, much better. I'm not even joking. I mean, you saw it. I suppose that most of you saw it, and so the anime is superior in every single aspect in terms of character development, main character development, arcs, arc variety, overall length. Side characters, world building, music, but obviously manga cannot have music. The point I'm trying to make is, how the fuck can you argue that the manga is better than the anime when the manga doesn't even have the full Boruto story. It is just beyond me that some people have the audacity to say that the manga is better. Sure, you might be enjoying the current manga arcs more than the current anime arcs, which is completely okay, but those manga arcs are eventually gonna be in the anime, and they're most likely gonna be expanded upon, and they're gonna be 15 times better, just like the versus Momoshiki arc. On the other hand, the manga will never have arcs such as the Genin graduation exam, which was a great arc, by the way, Naruto Gaiden, the opening arc, Mitsuki disappearance arc, which was the most philosophical arc of the Boruto anime, and probably objectively alongside the versus Momoshiki arc the best arc. It will never have arcs which focus on side characters such as Jugo arc and Mirai arc. You'll never get to know these characters as well in those arcs. The manga has so many holes. I'm not saying that it's bad, but like I'm not saying that the manga is trash. But if I had to pick one of the two and to say that one of them is trash, I'd say the manga is trash. Now, I obviously don't think that the manga is trash, but it lacks so many basic story elements. And that's one of the reasons why I still haven't bought a single Boruto volume. I'm probably gonna eventually buy some Boruto volumes. The price isn't the problem. They're not too expensive or anything like that. And I'm not saying that I'm super rich or anything like that, but as you can see, I'm at least in the middle class portion of people, so I have the money to buy the volumes and support the official release. But the thing is, the manga, as I said, it has so many holes. It's not the full Boruto story. If the situation was different, if everything that we saw in the Boruto anime was in the Boruto manga, hell yeah, I'd be buying all the volumes. But a manga with so many holes isn't so appealing to me. That said, whenever I read the latest Boruto chapter, I get hyped as fuck. I get super emotional, and I always do a bunch of videos on the manga. But still, the anime is the core of Boruto's story. That's the Boruto story. That's the full Boruto story. That's the main thing. And so I hope that that you at least not even change your opinion. Again, if you dislike the Boruto anime, you do you, man. I can't force you to like Slice of Life. That's not for everybody. But I at least hope that you respect the Boruto anime a little bit more after this. And I hope that in case you go around Twitter and YouTube saying that Boruto is trash, I hope you stop doing that. Because Boruto as a series and Boruto, the main character in general, Boruto as a series is complex. It's a great anime. It's different. It's very unique. And believe it or not, the basic shonen premise of zero to hero, that's my favorite premise. Yes, I am a shonen tart, but that doesn't change the fact that I enjoyed the Boruto series, and I respect it even more because it doesn't follow the stereotypical premise of a shonen. It tries something new and it does it so well, and that's why I enjoy it so much. Just think about it. The Boruto anime connects so many events. Everything is connected. And for example, let me just briefly mention this at the end. We know from the Boruto manga that the seals are pretty relevant. You know how Naruto focused on dojutsu. Now we have Boruto as a series focusing on sealing jutsu, fuinjutsu. I think it's called fuinjutsu. And so some people would say, well, the Jugo arc was pointless, the curse marks and stuff. No, everything is leading towards the sealing stuff that's going on in the Boruto manga. That's why one of my most dear theories is that we're gonna see some Uzumaki clan members in the future, because I think there's a possibility that some of them actually, because like Kushina was explaining how when the Uzumaki clan massacre happened, some people escaped. And, for example, look at Karin. Her parents probably escaped or whatever, or grandparents, I don't know. So I think that just like how we have Nagato and Karin, we might have some other Uzumaki members that are alive in the future of the Boruto series. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that, and it's obvious that all of this is leading to something. In the first arc of the Boruto series, I don't remember if we had sealings back then, but for example, the sealing jutsus back then. But for example, look at the Byakuya gang arc, and the leader of the Byakuya gang, he had that ability to, I don't know, give these seals to other people. The Jugo arc, we had the curse seals. There are many more examples in the Boruto anime. And in the Boruto manga, we see that these seals are important, so all of that is leading to something bigger. And so anyway, that was just an extra point right there. I probably didn't articulate myself too well in these final 5 or 6 minutes because I've talked a lot in this video. And as many of you know, I'm not American, I'm not English. I'm actually from Serbia. I'm moving to America in July to study there and to live there in general after I finish studying. But the point is, English isn't my first language. So sometimes, not only in these last 5 or 6 minutes, but throughout this video, there were probably some instances where I didn't articulate myself properly. And even though I didn't articulate myself properly in every single sentence, I think that my point is pretty obvious. And I think that if you still think that Boruto is straight up trash, I think that you seriously need to question yourself. And this is not a personal attack. We're talking about a Japanese cartoon, all right? We're talking about our opinions and our comments on a Japanese cartoon. So again, if you still disagree with me, keep it rational in the comment section. That was your boy Hokage. In conclusion, the Boruto anime is a great series, and it's obviously superior to the manga, and that's like the dumbest argument. Well, no, Boruto is trash. That's the dumbest argument. I mean, that's not even an argument, you know, if you get what I mean. But saying that the Boruto manga is superior, it's just bullcrap. Anyway, that was your boy Hokage. As I said, Twitter, Discord, Instagram, and second links are in the description of this video. Again, for the third time, that was your boy Hokage, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.